On January 20th, 2021, President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris were sworn in as the 59th presidential inauguration. From 2017 to 2021, Donald J. Trump and Michael Pence served as the President and the Vice President of the United States. Trump's term as president was a historically rocky time period for America. Social rights issues, a divided country, and a global pandemic were some of the most unfortunate highlights from Trump's presidency. Despite the somber tone of the inauguration, as the nation mourned and honored those who had lost their lives to COVID-19, it was still a day for celebration as Kamala Harris made history by becoming the first female and first African American, Asian American vice president. While social distancing and other COVID-19 precautions were a priority, there were still many people that showed up to support Biden and Harris and celebrate the change in office. In addition to some of the well-known faces in politics, like the Obamas, the Bushes, and the Clintons attending, performances were also made by Garth Brooks, Lady Gaga, and Jennifer Lopez. Along with these grand performances, a beautiful poem, The Hill We Climb, was recited by 22-year-old Amanda Gorman. Lastly, and the most memorable of all, Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg delivered a powerful speech that celebrated women's rights, spoke about racial tension, and pleaded for unity. Before I begin, I would like to take a moment of silence and remember the nearly 400,000 lives that have lost their battles to COVID-19. Despite the hardships we have all endured this past year, today we celebrate. For 232 years, the United States has been governed by all male presidents and vice presidents. Today, for the first time since 1789, we, the people of the United States of America, have elected the first female vice president to the White House. This will be a memorable day for women and young girls all over the world. As a young child, my parents taught me how important it was to get a good education, and they showed me the importance of hard work in their everyday lives. Although my mother passed away right before my graduation from high school, I knew that I had to continue on my college studies, as it is what she would have wanted. I began at Cornell University in 1950, and in 1954, I graduated at the top of my class. This was also the year that I married the love of my life, Martin Ginsburg. Shortly after we were wed, we had our first child, Jane. Marty had just been drafted into the military, and I was navigating my life as a new mom. Once Marty was released from active duty, he returned to Harvard Law as I was beginning my first year there. My years at Harvard were tough. There were only 7 other women in my class of 500. I was immersed into a totally male-dominated environment, and it was at times very hostile. Marty was then diagnosed with cancer throughout our terms at Harvard. I was balancing the nearly impossible, attending to my young daughter, supporting and caring for my sick husband, attending classes and taking notes for Marty so he wouldn't fall behind. And I was, of course, trying to focus on my own studies. Thankfully, Marty made a full recovery and went on to graduate from Harvard, and he accepted a job at a New York law firm. I then transferred my studies to Columbia Law School and moved with him, and I graduated in 1959. Despite my transcript, no one was willing to take a chance on a woman. I was really getting frustrated with the continuous gender discrimination. Settling for what I could, I accepted a job as a clerk for U.S. District Judge Edmund Palermi. I then went on to teach at Rutgers Law School, and then at Columbia, where I became the first female tenured professor. I received a call right around that time that I was being offered tenure at Columbia from the director of the ACLU wanting to interview me for the director of the Women's Rights Project. The ACLU had been trying to support gender equality, and the funding for the project was finally coming together, but it needed someone who could help them take off. So we hired Brenda Fain, a well-known activist in the feminist movement, as my co-founder, and we just knew that she would help us gain the attention to the already growing cause. Working for the Women's Rights Project, I was able to argue for 6 landmark cases in front of the United States Supreme Court. In 1980, I was appointed to the United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia. I continued to serve there until I was honored by the nomination to the Supreme Court by Bill Clinton in 1993. I was the second female justice appointed to the court, following Sandra Day O'Connor, who was appointed in 1981 by President Reagan. I understand that you're probably wondering why I'm rambling on about myself. What is so important about my story that makes all of this relevant? Because this is exactly what I've fought for my whole life. As a daughter, a mother, a student, a teacher, and a wife, I face many numerous obstacles, countless instances of gender discrimination, and most importantly, I learned what it meant to juggle motherhood with a career. While I have been a strong voice for women all across the country, I have never wanted special privileges for women. I didn't think women were more deserving than men. All I wanted and all I worked for was equality. I approved cases that promoted equality and fairness, and I proudly dissented those that didn't. Alice Paul, one of the most prominent leaders of the suffragette movement, once claimed, "I never doubted that equal rights was the right direction. Most reforms, most problems are complicated, but to me, there is nothing complicated about ordinary equality." Alice had it right. It really is that simple. All people, no matter their race, their sex, their ethnicity, where they came from, whether they're rich or they're poor, their sexual orientation or sexual preferences, everyone should have equal rights as well as equal opportunities. America, we are here today to celebrate. This is a historic day, and it's an event that is long overdue. For the first time in America's history, a woman is now our vice president. Our battle is not over. While we might be one step closer to full gender equality, we still have so many fights ready to be fought. But remember, fight for the things that you care about, but do it in a way that others will join you. The last 4 years have marked a period of intense division within the country. Black, white, liberal, conservative, Democrats, Republicans, hate, anger, fear, and distrust have consumed society. With a clear lack of leadership from our former president, tensions grew. We saw worldwide protests this last year calling for equal treatment from police officers to all people. I know that the country was outraged when I referred to Donald Trump as a faker. In 2016, before Trump won the election, I voiced my opinion against him on several occasions. Now, I am known to speak openly and honest at times, and sometimes I come off as brash, but I made my apologies for it and I moved on. I once said that he has no consistency about him. He says whatever comes into his head at the moment. He really has an ego. Considering all the things that have taken place in the weeks leading up to today, I would have to say that my opinions of him are even more true now than they were when I once said them. The rhetoric of our former president fueled a fire time and time again, with one clear intent: division. However, Donald Trump is just one person and isn't the source of all our problems. But we as a nation have to hold our leaders accountable. All of them, no matter what side of the aisle they claim, our leaders, whether elected or appointed, have a duty to protect, defend, promote human rights, civil liberties, and peace. Whether you define yourself as a Democrat or a Republican, whether you're white or a minority, whether you're a female or a male, we should all celebrate the great gains made by countless men and women to get where we are today. Progress is always the goal, and unity is more important than ever. Our country deserves to heal. Our people deserve a better America, a more accepting, a more just, a more equal America. We are a nation made strong by people like you.